Hello everyone, my name is Evelyn, and today we're going to be reading one of the ones I know. Well, the other thing last time. Okay, like I said, we're going to read. Okay. Next video. Yeah. Let's read this now. There's a video on YouTube named what? If you search this, you will find nothing. A few times you'll find something. You'll see a 20-second video of a man staring at you, expressionless. Then grinning lasts for 2 seconds. Background is unidentified. This is the only part of the actual video. Full video lasts 2 minutes. It was removed by YouTube. After 153 people reviewed it, the video got their eyes out and mailed them to YouTube's main office in San Bruno. What? Say people had committed suicide in various ways. It is not known yet how they managed to mail their eyes after gouging them out. The cryptic inscription they carved on their forearms has not been deciphered. YouTube will particularly pop the first 20 seconds video to skill suspicions, so that people go look for a real thing and upload it. The video itself was only viewed by one YouTube. I am busy. The video itself was only viewed by one YouTube staff member who started screaming after 45 seconds. This man is now under constant conditioning and is apparently unstable and unable to recall what he saw. The other people who were in the same room as him while he viewed it and turned off the video for him that all they heard at the time was a high-pitched drilling sound. None of them dared to look at the screen. The person who uploaded the video was never found. The IP address being non-existent, and the man in the video has never been identified. Dude, that was creepy. I don't know why I feel really like yes. The summer was nice and warm that year. The sun, as always, brought warmth to your skin, and light breezes swept through the neighborhood and made the days not too hot or too cold. It was simply perfect weather, but there's one summer Sally will never forget. Sally was a young girl, 8 years old, with long curly brown hair and bright green eyes. She was always polite, she never lied. She told her mother and father simply adored her. They could ask for a better daughter. Sally giggled as she played with friends outside her home. Various games like hopscotch and jump rope, even dolls and tag. Sally's mother smiled warmly at the innocent sight and wiped her hands on her apron, calling out, "Sally, come inside now, it's time for lunch." Sally looked up from her doll and smiled. "Okay, Mommy." Sitting down at the dinner table, Sally slightly bounced in her seat, excited for who knows what. Her mother placed down a peanut and butter jelly sandwich with crust cut off, some carrot and soy sticks on the side, and juice to drink. "Thank you, Mama." "You're welcome, sweetie." As the child began to take hold of her sandwich, her mother took a seat across from the girl and smiled, watching her eat. "Guess what? Your Uncle Johnny's coming over." Sally looked up and smiled. The corner of his lips had traces of peanut butter on them. Uncle Johnny," she repeated through her food. Her mother laughed and nodded. "He's coming to help Daddy with his job and to look after you, too. Maybe all of us can go to the carnival." Sally chewed the rest of her bite and quickly swallowed. "Can Sarah and Jenny come too?" Her mother looked up and thought, "Well, that's up to their mom." and that's to say, but if they can, sure. Again the child giggled and bounced on her seat again, never more excited of this year's summer vacation. After the course of the next few days, Uncle Johnny drove up to the house, climbing out of his car. The man stretched his arms over his head and let out a tired sigh. Uncle Johnny, a small voice chirped, running the attention of the man. Sally dropped the jump rope she was playing with and ran over to a family member, hugging him. "Hey, Sal, how have you been?" he asked, lifting the girl with ease, giving her a proper hug. The girl giggled and looked back to her friends, who were now waving in their direction. "I've been playing with Sarah and Jenny. Let's go inside and tell Mama you're here." "Sounds like a great idea," he smiled and walked inside the house. Calling out to the woman, "Mary, I'm here," he called, followed Sally by mimicking him. "Mama, he's here." The housewife hurried out of the kitchen and smiled to see Johnny made it. "Johnny, you got here safe and sound." The man picked up the girl, placed the girl down on the ground, and gave her a bottom pat to send her off, and hugged the woman. "Of course I did. Why else would I come here safe and sound?" he laughed, walking back into the kitchen with the woman. Sally trotted over to the front door, calling out that she was going back outside to play. "Make sure you come in back before dark." "Yes, Mom." Ma'am, and the girl went off, and off the girl went. As dinner drew near, Sally's father came home. He was happy to see his brother was there as well. Walking in with his daughter, he strolled up to Johnny with a handshake and a hug. "Nice to meet you, man. How you been?" he asked. He crossing his arms, watching his wife set the table for supper. Johnny gave a shrug of his shoulders, fiddling with his thumbs. "Me and Karen split up." "Well, that's terrible. I'm sorry." Johnny shook his head with a smile. "Nah, it's alright. I'm happy. I can move freely without having someone constantly wanting to know where I am and what I'm doing." Two men laughed together, making their way to the table to eat. "Mary, this is wonderful." "Thank you. I'm glad you like it." "This is yummy, Mommy." The adults smiled and chuckled from the kids' praise. Plate after plate was empty, and Sally began to yawn over and over again, rubbing her eyes with her hand. Her mother smiled and gently rubbed her back. "Looks like someone tired. Time for bed." Suddenly, Sally nodded and hopped off her seat, picking up her plate and carrying it to the sink. Her mother rose up to take her to bed, but stopped from John grabbing a hold of her arm. "I'll take her to bed," he smiled, earning one in return. "All right, thank you, John." The man nodded and watched the woman make her way to clean dishes and put up any leftovers, then looked over to see his brother leave for the bathroom to wash up, and followed by the young girl to her room. John smiled and closed the door behind him, watching the little girl rummage around her dresser for pajamas to wear. "You need any help?" he asked, watching the girl who look up and nod. "Okay, let's see what you've got." The man waddled up alongside her and began looking through her various pajamas. "You shut up and showered. Okay, wait. You have some strawberry printed ones. I'll bet you'll smell just like them in your dreams." He took the shirt up and showed her, giving a few deep inhales. Sally giggled and shook her head back, then pulled out another shirt with a unicorn on it. "How about these ones? This one. Bet you'll ride on the Miss Unicorn here." Again the child giggled and shook her head no. The man let out a small huff before placing it back again, then took a regular pink nightgown with Sally sewn on it in black. "How about this? Be able to turn into a princess with this." Sally's eyes lit up and clapped her hands excitedly and nodded. Placing the gown on her bed, he reached over to her and began to unbutton her shirt. "I can get dressed, Uncle," she said with a smile, looking down at his hands on her shirt. The man smiled back and nodded. Continuing to his work, his way down to her shirt. I can't stop. I bet you can, but you're tired. And why not have some help? He asked. So watching Sally nod a few times. Once getting her shirt unbuttoned, he slipped it off her shoulders and gave her tummy a nice poke, making her giggle. He grinned and took a hold of the rim of her shorts and pulled them down. Finally, the man grabbed a hold of her nightgown and pushed the opening over her head, making sure her arms could go through the sleeves. All done, he said happily, watching the girl smile back and giggling when she bounded up top of her head. Johnny rose up and picked up her clothes. The door opened and walked Sally's mother, coming to tuck her in. You ready for bed? She asked, walking around the bed. Johnny looked up and hurried over to the other side of the bed. I'll tuck her in, okay? I'll tuck her in. That okay? Mary looked up at him and smiled, shaking her head. Of course not. She looked down at her daughter and leaned and kissed the child on her forehead. Good night, sweetheart. Good night, Mama. Giving the girl a gentle rub with her thumb on the forehead. The woman took the clothes Johnny had and made her way out of the room. Johnny smiled to the mother and walked over to the light switch. Flicking it off, he carefully closed the doors to her room and locked it. Slowly, he looked over his shoulder to Sally. Johnny wore a chilling, crooked smile. After the next few days, Mary noticed that Sally wasn't acting herself. She wasn't smiling as brightly as she did. She wasn't chipper or spoke with the same amount of happiness. Mary took a hold of the child's hand before she left to play with her friends and took her aside. Sally looked up at her mother with a confused look. Honey, are you feeling okay? She asked, kneeling down to the child's height. Sally stared at her idly and slowly began to weep. Her mother widened her eyes in confusion. Sally, Mama, I didn't want to. The girl managed to say through hiccuping sobs. Didn't want to do what, sweetie? I didn't want to play. I didn't want to play his game. Sally looked up at her mother and hugged her tight. He touched me, made me touch him. Mary frowned and began stroking the child's hair, comforting her, slightly slushing her to calm her down. Shh, everything's okay. Mommy's here now. It was a nightmare, that's all. The girl had a scary nightmare. Everything is fine now, okay? Don't worry about it anymore. She watched Sally look up at her. Her breathing chopped up from her crying and smiled. Well, that's the end of today. See you next time. Ha 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 ha.